all cards collecting and investing. His name is Andy. My name is Carter. We are only a few weeks away, Andy, from the National. We hope to meet each and every one of you. But I do want to reveal something at the beginning of this. And I don't think a lot of people know this, Andy. You and I have never met before.
Never met in person, man. I have no clue what you actually look like or if you ever wear pants.
Yeah, exactly. I actually have gone pantsless for, I think, 2 episodes, and I made sure just to not stand up at all. But yeah, man, it's going to be a great time. I can't wait to actually meet you. I can't wait to meet each and every one of you. So send us a message. Let us know if you're going. But obviously, we're talking cards today because most of you aren't able to actually make the trip. And Andy, there is new product being released basically by the day, it seems. But the poll question is attached right now. And Andy, I'm going to go ahead and let you answer it first when it comes to these rookie QBs.
Yeah, man, this is really tough, and I think it comes back to us, like who's going to have the most expensive rookie card or average resale value on their rookie card. We can say rookie auto if we want to kind of boil it down to something a little bit more specific. At the end of the season, for me, Carter, it's got to be Anthony Richardson on the Colts. And the reason why I say this is because of the offensive line. It's not bad. Last year, they really performed poorly across the board. I think that was a little bit of a fluky season. Matt Ryan was clearly dust, and there was coaching concerns, and there was a lot of issues going on there. They got better towards the end of the year once they changed the coaching up, once Matt Ryan was done. So it's like, I think that bringing Shane Steichen in from the Eagles, he already knows how to develop around a rushing quarterback. And Anthony Richardson's athleticism is just so good that if he can exceed expectations at all in passing, they've got some good wide receiver weapons. The Colts have the 30th easiest schedule, so they have one of the easiest schedules in the league this year. And their hardest stretch is not until weeks 14 through 16. So I think that with all those factors combined, Anthony Richardson is going to have the most successful season. He's also the guy that I think can just melt people's faces on the ground in the run game. And that dual threat capability with a cannon for an arm, if he can actually dial that in, man, I mean, we could be looking at a serious hype storm for this guy.
Shout out Underdog Fantasy. He does have the highest ADP because of that rushing ability. But Andy, I'm going to actually take this in a different direction. I'm going to actually share with you the one that I'm staying away from, and that is CJ Stroud. I just do not like this situation for him at all. And I would highly recommend looking to move a lot of your college uni cards on any of these quarterbacks, but in particular CJ, because I do not like the Texans roster. I do not like their situation. I don't really like their division. And I am just staying away from CJ altogether because, they spent all that draft capital to move up to get a pass rusher in Will Anderson. I just don't like that for him in the AFC where it is absolutely loaded. Now, that's not me saying I don't like CJ at all. It's just you have got to have pieces around you to be able to succeed. And CJ went to Ohio State where he had by far the best supporting cast he could have asked for. And now he's going to Houston where it is not like that at all. I actually really do like Bryce Young. I do think Bryce is going to be the best quarterback out of any of these rookie quarterbacks this class or the Kenny Pickett class before this one. So I'm a Bryce guy. It could just be my bias, Andy, because even though you've never met me, I'm short. I cheer for my fellow short kings. So even though he is an Alabama Crimson Tide, I do think Bryce is going to end up being the absolute best.
You know, what's interesting is the Texans have a very difficult schedule to start the season. Their hardest games are weeks 1 through 4 when they play the Ravens week 1 in Baltimore, mind you, and then they travel back home to play the Colts. So you potentially have a rookie quarterback battle there. back in Houston. But then they go to Jacksonville week 3 to play the Jaguars, and then back home for the Texans in week 4. So not an easy stretch at all to start the season for CJ Stroud. And I am a little concerned just about the offensive play calling, like the offensive play calling creativeness there in Houston. I mean, you got a lot of new coaching personnel, and it's going to be a big challenge for him to start the season.
I want to chat with you about the rookie class before from mostly a football card perspective, because look, 2022 product is starting to, trickle out. You tagged me in a tweet about some big time Brock Purdy cards being graded right now. Brock Purdy has been one of the most submitted athletes altogether, Andy. I would love your thoughts as far as a football card market perspective on Brock moving forward with the 49ers.
Man, well, I got to tell you, and right now he's become the chase guy for 2022 product. And it's interesting to see what he actually gets printed in. He doesn't have the same print runs, the same availability as a guy like Kenny Pickett, but you can see he's being submitted to PSA at a much higher rate. He is the 13th most submitted football athlete to PSA in their entire database. His base Donruss, Mosaic, and Prism rookies are 3 of the 20 most submitted individual football cards right now, according to PSA Card from their Twitter account. So my take, obviously, my take on him, I am leery to say that his prices haven't kind of flatlined right now. Right. We are still getting substantial news that he is going to start the season, but the graded reports are flooding back. So it's no surprise that the hobby, the graders are definitely prioritizing Purdy above all else from 2022. He's definitely driving the 2022 product right now.
Yeah, and I think some of that is hobby based, right? Like people are trying to get excited about Brock Purdy because there are very few quarterbacks in this class to really get excited about. I don't think anyone truly thinks Desmond Ridder is it. I think a lot of people are intrigued by Sam Howell, and I think obviously a lot of people are intrigued by Kenny Pickett, especially with that Pittsburgh Steelers market, arguably the best fan base in the NFL. But man, it's just that 49ers offense. If Brock is healthy, Andy, his floor is really high. I just have a difficult time with his football IQ and Debo and Kittle and Ayuk and McCaffrey for Brock Purdy to not at least be a very, very, very good quarterback with a high floor in the NFC. So I kind of like Brock going into this next year because people like quarterbacks and people like winners, Andy.
The one thing that concerns me a little bit about his situation is, more or less his mobility, kind of like his fragility. I mean, he's not a mobile quarterback now. He does know how to maneuver in the pocket, obviously. And he showed he's very good at reading defenses and scanning through his reads and finding the open receiver and being accurate. But if it wasn't for Trent Williams on the San Francisco 49ers offensive line, that'd be a pretty concerning group. So I think that Trent Williams is a guy that anchors that offensive line, and they've got some rotating players in there. But I look at his graded card market, for example, Carter, his base Donruss PSA 10, where the pop count is climbing at a significant rate right now, as we just pointed out, is at $50 to $60 on average. There's a buy it now for $60. Compared to Justin Fields at the same price. Which one would you rather have? I feel like, me personally, Brock Purdy is a guy that's going to be he's going to have to continue to win, continue to have to play good because he doesn't have that draft capital to fall on, to lean back on, to say, hey, this is why I should be a starter.
I like Fields going into next year. Once again, I wish I had some Justin Fields cards in my hands for the National here in a few weeks. I think he's going to be the hyped quarterback where you're going to see what happened with Mac Jones at the National, Zach Wilson at the National. I think Justin is going to be that guy for this next year, and he's better than those guys. So if you're going to Chicago and you have some Justin Fields cards, you can make some really good cash deals. Let me get to a few questions here. Starting off here, Andy, with James. People are already replicating Purdy's high-end cards. I actually did see this in a Facebook group that somebody reprinted a Brock Purdy gold number to 10 card and just 99 cent at that thing on eBay, and he got $165 for it. Now, I don't know if it's going to get paid for. I've never heard of shilling for reprint cards, Andy, but this is just a friendly reminder from a purely football card perspective, Andy. Be careful with the reprint, baby, because it's becoming more and more prevalent.
Yeah, that's scary, man. That's scary, especially on ultra modern stuff. And you do see some custom ACO or like just artistic cards, what they call them, out there, and it's pretty easy to tell which ones those are. But at the same time, I've seen some people on Instagram that are making them. They look really good. So it definitely makes me a little bit more concerned. I'm almost like, I want to, man. It's you gotta be careful. Which is important to why you get that buyer's protection whenever you're purchasing a sports card, unless you're like actually seeing it in person at a show.
But the thing is, on the Brock Purdy auction, the seller put in all caps reprint, and people still don't see it. He didn't do RP. He did all caps reprint. Abso-freaking-lutely hilarious. Let's go to Chad. We have 5 live cards from 2023 Chronic on the Bay as of right now. Okay, let's go. It's hitting already, Andy. Let's get it, baby.
Yeah, that's really cool. I'm really excited for this product. It's supposed to, it's supposed to feature some autographs, some chase cards. We're currently doing a hobby box break and the Quest Discord at cost for any Patreon members.
Okay.
And
let's go.
We're excited. We're excited to get that product. The hobby boxes are scheduled to be released in 2 days, so they haven't officially come out yet. So there must be some first off the line variation directly from Panini, or maybe some product leaked, and you've got a few listings out there. But it's interesting to look at how quickly prices on the previous products fall. So we were talking about Anthony Richardson, right? And I can see the poll here says 50% for Anthony Richardson, 40% for Bryce Young, and 10% for CJ Stroud. So when you go to eBay, though, and you look at Anthony Richardson over the past couple months, Carter, look at how his prices have dropped on the Bowman Chrome University Auto. Like, here's a 9 for 170 going back to June 8th. But then as you scroll up, it drops to 152 on June 19th, the same card. And then June 22nd, a few days later, 127. And then June 30th, 90. And now July 4th, 89. So you can see how that card value has almost been chopped in half. And I'm not sure if it's just hype is kind of just flatlining out. We're like in the heart of the off season. There was the holiday. Of course, it's never good to end your auction on a holiday. But then we've got the Chronicles coming out this Friday. And then you've also got other new sets that are getting ready to be released right behind it, actually.
Ugh. Time that auction, baby. I want to ask you this. Let's put this comment up first. MW, from the beaches of the Black Sea, Bulgaria. Are you kidding me? Huh?
Wow, man.
Worldwide. Let's go. Yeah, that lets you know we're doing something right for somebody on vacation. I wouldn't be worried about football cards if I'm in Bulgaria. I would be enjoying that. But we appreciate you are here, MW.
He's like 10 or 12 hours ahead, something like it's like 1 or 2 a.m. for him there. So he must be at least 2 sheets to the win. He's a few drinks in.
There you go. I love it. I love it. Just don't rip any product right now. But what I want to ask you, Andy, as far as actually, I totally forgot my next point. I wanted to bring it up in the live stream. I'm just thinking of being on in Bulgaria watching us right now. It's just so freaking cool. Vinny is in New Zealand. So let's go to his question really quickly. Drake London going to be buyer this year. All right, let's get into this. Andy, from a fantasy perspective, I've actually drafted a good bit of Drake London, but from a football card perspective, I'd love to know your thoughts.
Well, this is a great one because he's a second-year wide receiver. I love his underlying metrics from last year. You know, he does have number 8 overall draft capital, just like Bijan Robinson. They spent that number 8 pick. Drake London last year. Bijan this year. What did they spend on Kyle Pitts in 2021? It was like the number 8 as well. No, number 4 even on Kyle Pitts. So I go to when I compare like Drake London to guys like JMO, who actually Drake London has a very comparable price to him, even though Drake London is not suspended for the first 6 games. He's got, you know, really good draft capital like JMO, and he's got a clear-cut number 1 wide receiver role. Obviously, we don't know how much passing volume is actually going to be in the Atlanta offense to feed guys. To how many guys can they bring along, right? If Ritter can meet expectations at all, I think that the Atlanta Falcons are going to have one of these receivers go off. I kind of classify Kyle Pitts as a receiver, especially with that draft capital and kind of his profile. But I'm kind of been changing my stance on the Atlanta Falcons a little bit. I do not like Desmond Ritter, but, dude, whenever I look at their offensive line, ranked number 7 according to PFF heading into the season, when I look at their strength of schedule, their opponents, it's 31st. They have the second easiest schedule in the NFL. Their most difficult stretch is weeks 2 to 4. I think that they are going to be in a position, and they've also got to see what they got in Drake London, and they're going to have an incredible run game. They're going to be in a position to throw the ball a little bit more, you know, because if Desmond Ritter's not the guy, then maybe it's time to go ahead and like tank and try and get one of the elite quarterbacks next year and go ahead and move on from him while you got him in his rookie contract. So they really do need to test and see what they got in this guy. Found a pretty good offensive line. So I do think we're going to see quite a few shots to Drake London, who has some really good underlying metrics in terms of receiver, man coverage separation, route win rate, and he's got a nice yak ability. I mean, the guy is 6'4", 213, Carter, and his prices are much lower than like that of an Olave, much lower than a Garrett Wilson, you know, pretty much only a little bit higher than a Treylon Burks, Jahan Dotson type of range.
Yeah, I do like Drake. I do. The musician, not the athlete. Drake London's okay to me. Look, I've drafted him quite a bit as my wide receiver 2. Sometimes a wide receiver, 3 if I'm going a wide receiver build on Underdog. But man, I don't like the pace that they play. They were relatively slow last year, and they're going to be feeding the living daylights out of Bijan this next year. I do agree, though. The schedule does set up pretty nicely, and all we need is a few spike weeks here from Drake London. He's got, that single-digit number. He does have highlight reel capabilities. So, yeah, I'm down to have some Drake London, but at the same time, Andy, when I go on eBay and I see his autos are, going for basically, at the basement, $25-30. I don't know. It's kind of hard for me to get really excited when I could get some other receivers for essentially that same price.
You got 2 run-heavy teams in Tennessee and Atlanta. Still got King Henry in Tennessee. You know they want to run the ball. Arthur Smith actually comes from Tennessee, right, where he used to run the ball. So it's
Right.
like, who would you rather have in terms of athletic ability? I know they're a little bit different builds between Treylon Burks and Drake London, but they're both projected to be their number 1 receivers for their team. You're looking at currently about $40 to $50 on a Silver Prism Auto Drake London. This is non-serial number, but it is a Silver Prism Auto, so it's like one of those popular, desirable cards compared to the Treylon Burks that you could get for 20 to 25.
Exactly. I like that play a lot better. I was getting ready for the live stream. I've been so busy the last 48. Did a show last night on 4th of July. So we appreciate y'all for understanding. Once again, happy 4th. We did move the show to today, but I was looking at Treylon Burks, clearly blue color match auto number /99. Andy, one went for $15 out the door. $15 total out the door. That's very cheap for me for Treylon Burks. Now I am in SEC country, so it might just be that I watched a lot of him coming out, but I'm telling you, I've seen some Burks go for very low, including this one for a BIN. Really, never got this guy.
Real?
I don't know. That's a crazy BIN number right there for the $4.99. So let me know what you guys in the chat. Who has the bigger season next year? Type T for Treylon Burks. Type D for Drake London. I am very, very, very curious. So I'm waiting for a few responses to come in, but Andy, I'm still eyeing some Burks going into next year.
I mean, I cannot believe I missed out on this sold listing from yesterday. $4.99 for a Silver Prism Auto Treylon Burks. And I mean, it just leaves you with so much upside. So I look at the guy, similar draft capital, great athletic profile. They're both in run heavy situations, but they're both projected as the number 1 wide receiver. And I just think Burks has got so much more upside buying in at that price. A lot of it's
right.
A lot of it is, and it can be compared back to the ADP. Like, I think you can get Treylon Burks a couple rounds later than you can get Drake London for as well.
Yeah. I'll also say this. Ryan Tannehill's a good quarterback. Is he washed? Yeah, a little. Does he get banged up quite a bit? Yeah. Don't you think the Titans want to see what they have in either Willis or Levis? Absolutely. But if Ryan Tannehill is the quarterback, Ryan can spin it. And I think Burks, who last year, Andy, was being thrown to by Joshua Dobbs. Joshua Dobbs, Andy. Joshua Dobbs. So I just love me some Treylon Burks going into next year. It could just be that I've been bullish on him even before last year's draft. So, yeah, that's where I am right now. Now, as far as second-year wide receivers, Andy, this is big in the fantasy and now football card world. I want to ask you just simply as a football player, who is better, Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson?
Man, well, if I were to look at the numbers from last year, I'm going to have to go with Garrett Wilson. And I think they're very close. They're very close, man. I would be interested to see what Chris Olave would have done in his rookie season in that Jets wide receiver room instead of Garrett Wilson.
Right.
But the thing is, it's like, what quarterback was throwing it? Joe Flacco, Chris Traveler. We're talking about Zach Wilson. So they had a bunch of misfits quarterbacks throwing them the ball, or old dusty guys. And so it's really hard to get a good gauge of what they'll do with a good quarterback. Both of them get quarterback upgrades, even if Derek Carr, I think that Derek Carr is on the decline. I don't think he's on the decline at the rate that Matt Ryan was on the decline last year. Like, he's not at that level yet. Neither is Aaron Rodgers. So they're both getting veteran quarterback upgrades, which is, I don't know, Carter. Like after watching what happened to Russell Wilson last year going to Denver, this could go, and Matt Ryan going to the Colts. This could go very bad or very good for either one of these guys. And maybe it starts off rocky, like we talked about the Jets opening schedule. Coincidentally, the Saints have the easiest schedule in the NFL this year, Carter.
And I love that. Obviously, I'll be happy to take some Saints Bucks bets this year, Andy.
I can't do them. But I'll tell you what, man, there's so much potential in the NFC South for breakout players because of the easiness of schedule of all these teams. Like the Atlanta Falcons 31st, the New Orleans Saints 32nd, and Carolina Panthers have the 28th easiest schedule. And you can see a lot of people think Bryce Young is going to exceed expectations with Carolina. So I think one of these teams can outperform expectations from the NFC South, in which case they'll win the division, they'll head to the playoffs. There's going to be big appreciations in the quarterbacks, rookie cards, and the skill position players they bring along with them.
I want to ask you this question before we get into new product and just mostly talk football cards. This is a question that I think I saw in a recent chat I've been meaning to bring up to you. I mean, we know the AFC quarterback hierarchy. I don't think a lot of that's going to change. But, of course, the NFC, right now it's Jalen Hurts and everybody else. What's very interesting about these NFC quarterbacks, Andy, is a lot of them are really good quarterbacks, but they never were elite quarterbacks per se, but they're in good situations. We saw a few years ago with Matthew Stafford and what he did with the Rams. Is there for you a football card play with Derek Carr, Jared Goff, or maybe Kirk Cousins that you could see yourself making?
I'm out on Kirk Cousins and the Vikings because so much of his success is tied to playoff wins. I don't see them with the defense getting worse. It's going to be all out. Like, I think Kirk Cousins could throw for 6,000 yards and Justin Jefferson like shatter some kind of receiver record, and yet they still like maybe not even make the playoffs kind of thing, you know? So for that reason, I'm out on Kirk Cousins. But I think some of the other guys you mentioned, Derek Carr obviously is an interesting one, especially if the Saints make the playoffs. Like, somebody from the NFC South is going to make the playoffs. Somebody's going to exceed expectations. One of those teams is going to have, I think, a pretty decent record just based on how easy their schedule is. Maybe it's the Saints. Maybe it's the Falcons. I lean in one of those two directions because of how strong they are in the trenches. But Carolina, pretty strong too, man. So I definitely know it's not going to be the Bucks. I could bet on that. But I like, man. I'm tempted to go back to the Geno Smith wells, especially how cheap I've seen some of his cards go. Like, I still want to go back to him because of how strong the weapons are there, and like how much he really is just has nothing to lose at this point. And that was not a small sample we got last year. We got an entire season of him just balling out. Even in the playoff game where he held his own against San Francisco. I mean, that was a close game. So I continuously keep going back to Seattle and thinking that they're going to be pretty good. The problem is their offensive line is not great. But, I mean, Geno Smith's pretty mobile. And you have a great run game. It's really their interior offensive line, I think, is the weakest part, according to Pro Football Focus. And they have the 16th hardest schedule. Their toughest stretch is from weeks 12 to 15. And if you were to compare Geno Smith to Derek Carr, there's still a big difference in Geno Smith being a lot cheaper. So I feel like there's a lot more meat on that bone to make money on Geno Smith this year, especially what if, you know, San Francisco actually struggles? Not that, I mean, you can project them to struggle, but what if they do struggle and Seattle kind of runs that division for a little while until like halfway through the season? Like, what if Seattle starts off 3-0 all of a sudden after what Geno Smith did last year? If he's early like Vegas projection, like there's actually odds on him, like decent odds for him to win MVP, that's going to drive a significant increase in the value of his cards. And his cards are already pretty rare from 2013, like the rookie cards. So
shout out to Mr. T. He is pretty pumped up with all this Pro Seahawk content that we've been pushing out. I wasn't going to say Gino because I've talked about him so much in recent live streams, but yeah, I would also put some futures on Gino leading the league in passing yardage as well. I'm very bullish on him next season. Now, Andy, let's actually talk specifically football cards. I bring this up every live stream, how excited I am that you can walk into a Walmart and the shelves not be cleared out. So if you want to take your kid to a Walmart and get a box of something football, you can do it. It's not like the way it was 2 years ago, or even to a certain degree, even a year ago. I love that. I really freaking do. So let's chat releases, Andy.
Yeah, I mean, just be prepared to pay $35 for a blaster box that has a pretty low hit rate on like the really good rookies. I mean, they have Optic and Select on Walmart's website, which tells you it's in stock. It's not, maybe not all stores, but there's definitely in stock. You get it online, and just be prepared. $35 for a blaster box, and the hit rates, like they're not great.
No.
So I look at new products. There is some new product. We talked about 2023 Chronicles coming out. I wanted to see if there was a Prism Geno Smith CSG 10 that ended for like $10.
Ooh.
It was like Monday night, and I missed it. I forgot to bid on it.
Well, come on, Andy. Don't miss it.
I digress, man. Yeah, I was seeing if I could pull it up on my watch list because it was like
goodness, $10 for a 10. Oh my!
Yeah, it was a CSG 10, which is a reputable grading company. It's just as good as an SGC 10, and it was a base prism, but 2013 base prism is like, an optic hollow or an X fractor from today. It's just like the scarcity was so much higher.
I'm firing. I'm firing you. I'm taking applications for the new QuestCast co-host here. God, that is a big missed opportunity. But Andy, I'll say this about Chronicles. I like it because you get variety in there, and once again, I'm a college football guy. I like college uniform cards. I know I'm in the minority there. I know you should sell them when the pro uniform stuff comes out. So Chronicles isn't my absolute favorite, draft product. I used to like draft picks, but I don't think we're gonna get Prism draft picks again. But Chronicles, I'm cool with it, man. It's a fun rip.
Yeah, it's a fun rip, man. You get a decent amount of autographs. It's like 48 cards, 3 autographs, which is impressive to me this year. And I think the majority of the time those are going to be rookies. You also get some interesting sets that do it within Chronicles because it's like a gumbo of a bunch of different sets. And you're going to get some different rated rookies in there, like Optic Previews and some Legacy, some Luminance, some Illusion, some Zenith, like all these different things. And I think you're going to have some pretty aesthetic looking cards, some cards that have pro logos, like pro NFL logos, pro NFL designs, but college uniforms is fully licensed. And I think it's going to be pretty popular if you get some of those more serial numbered legacy autos and stuff like that. And the price point is really nice, like on 3 autographs, $175. So coming up right after that, though, Carter, is Donruss Elite. Now, this one may do even better. This is 20 packs of 5 cards each. So you get 100 cards in the hobby box. It's $300. It releases on 8/2. So there's only less than a month between the release of Chronicles and then the release of Donruss Elite. And it gets 2 autographs per hobby box. And this is when you can chase the pen pals, the turn of the century. So this is what they advertise as the first on-card NFL autograph of all the new rookies in the NFL. So this is going to be popular. We know pen pals, like over time, over the long run, they tend to lose value. They just get lost in the shuffle of all the other cards that come out by the end of the year, like the Prism Optic Select stuff. But I mean, starting the season for the rookies, they're going to be really, really hot.
Yeah, I've never like I'll see an occasional Patrick Mahomes Pin Pals auto come up, and I'm like, man, there's just so many better looking cards out there. I'm sorry for crapping on Pin Pals here. I just get excited when new product is just being released, and this just isn't my absolute favorite. What say you?
I like some of them. Like Turn of the Century, I think is my favorite insert from there. Every year, I see Turn of the Century does pretty well. Even long term, there's people that still look out for the Turn of the Century. They typically have like big NFL logos and pretty cool designs. And as long as it clearly indicates it's a rookie card, you got a rookie auto, and a lot of times serial numbered. Like the Turn of the Century cards are all serial numbered. So they're all 199 or less, and there's only like I think 4 or 5 different parallels from, if I remember correctly, from looking at the checklist. So that to me kind of gets me excited. That's kind of what I hunt out of that set. But the pen pals aren't my favorite card. A lot of it's because it's just like a plain paper card stock, and I do like the more blingy, chromed out cards.
Bling bling. Andy, let's get to a few comments really quickly. We welcome in Ziggy. No, my guy is always in the mix, man. Ziggy just brings the heat, man. He takes no prisoner. Shout out to him. Oh, my shoes. Good to see you. Thunder and Sports Card. Of course, Hector and Derek are always killing it in the chat with Chad. Those guys just murder it every week with football knowledge, fantasy, and sports cards. But I want to get to Otis right here. 2022 Select Football Mega Boxes have been loaded. I've heard the same thing, Andy. Now, I've seen, I've talked about people clearing out shelves. People have been clearing out Select Mega Boxes. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to mislead anybody. But yeah, I've seen some people hit some beauties.
Well, I'm not surprised, to be honest with you. They added more inserts. They added more parallels. There's a 5th tier. Like actually, the data diver guy, Tyler Teapot, I can't remember his full name, but he did a really good breakdown of all the different tiers in Select and the players that were printed for each tier. And I thought it was really interesting, Carter. There is actually 5 tiers in Select. Like whenever I talked about it, whenever it first came out, before that, like it was way more extensive than what I initially thought it was from that article I was reading. And man, is there a lot of cards in this year's Select. I'll actually throw it up on the screen. I don't know if you've seen this yet, Carter.
Let's see it. Let's fire it up, baby.
Where's my screen? There you go.
Oh, look at all this juicy data, baby.
This is shout out to Teapot over there at Data Divers. He's got the number of parallels for each tier at the top, in the top column, and then he's got the basically like a blue bar is which tier they were printed in. So Chris Olave, all the tiers. Kenny Pickett, all the tiers except for Club. Desmond Ridder, all the tiers except for Club. Drake London, all the tiers except for Premier. And it's like you can see, it's kind of interesting, right?
Wow, I'm interested that Chris Olave was the only one that got all 5.
Right? I don't know what the rhyme or reason is for Panini printing guys. Like, why would you not print Sauce Gardner or Brees Hall and Aiden Hutchinson and all the tiers with more parallels? But Chris Olave got 151 different like base cards, including the parallels and stuff within Select, compared to a Jamison Williams, who got 54. Aiden Hutchinson got 58. Defensive Rookie of the Year. Sauce Gardner got 60. This is look at
Purdy, only 2. That's crazy.
Yeah, Purdy's only printed in club level and field level. And with the late release of this product, you think that they would actually print a guy like Isaiah Pacheco in more tiers, but only in the field level. So that's a good thing to know, because when you're shopping on eBay and all you find are horizontally formatted select field level Isaiah Pacheco's, if one goes for $5-10, like that's actually got some decent scarcity to it. It's actually not a bad buy at all. In fact.
Ooh, I like it, man. Let me ask you this. On your hierarchy now, Andy, I know a lot of people were turned off when Select went retail. How do you feel about Select? I mean, I'm pretty sure you still have Optic, Rated Rookie, Prism, and all that stuff still ahead of Select, right?
Rated rookie number one, baby. Number
Yes,
one.
sir.
The grade rates, PSA 10 grade rates are much higher on the base rated rookies. So if I'm gonna buy the grade, I'm definitely buying base Donruss rated rookies. Optics for aesthetics. Optics also feature a lot of on-card autos that are serial numbered. So I love those. And then for me, then it's Prism, and then it's Mosaic, and then it's Select. So Select is actually fourth for me. I would put, though, a field level Select. I'm not crazy about the horizontal format. I do like that they made it really easy to differentiate between which ones are the most short print or the most uncommon, compared to the more common ones. But I'm still a big fan of vertically formatted cards. Like, I get what they're doing this year with, they did it with contenders too, Carter. The short print rookie ticket auto is all horizontally formatted. To me, it's a little bit of a turnoff. I'm not a big horizontal card guy, but I think it makes it easier. If you make it easier for people to understand, and that actually spreads around the hobby and everybody understands, including new people getting in, or people that are very casual, leisurely going on at the beginning of the season to buy a card, I always like to target those types of buyers, because I feel like those are the kind of people that will buy just for their collection on a whim, maybe because they see a guy is melting faces on TV and they're not really concerned about, what the historical price data is or the scarcity, blah, blah, blah. They're just looking like, how cool does this card look? Oh, it's also got a rookie autograph, that kind of thing. If it clearly identifies itself with those criteria, then I kind of like to target that card more.
Look, I want to shout out J Wright 7468. I don't know if this is his first time commenting, but look at him doing the Lord's work. He said he called Panini this morning, and he said, just FYI for you guys, if you're waiting on Kyle Pitts redemptions, he is supposedly coming in next week to sign all of his stuff.
Wow, man, that's big, because there's so many 2021 rookies like Kyle Pitts, Justin Fields, your boy Jamar Chase, that have so many redemptions lingering out there, man. And it's like, where are these guys' rookie ticket autos? They're so insanely expensive because they're so rare. When you look at a guy like Trevor Lawrence, and they're just like, yeah, they're so expensive, but at least he's got a bunch of them out there.
Yeah, I'll tell you this from getting to know, more so via my other channel, but the signature stuff, a lot of athletes do not like it, because you're just signing so much stuff. It is absolutely ridiculous. Now, they like the money that comes from it, obviously, but it's tedious. Stuff gets piled up, and athletes are busy. They're very busy. So for whatever reason, some take longer than others. And because of that, Andy, I wanted to ask you, and I wanted to ask the chat this question. How much does it bother you when an athlete switches up the signature, right? Andy, I'm going through this right now with one of my favorite players, Jamar Chase. Okay. He's changed up his signature some. I currently only have like a few Chase autos. I like the Leaf stuff because it's his old J Chase 1 autograph, but now he does more JC 1 because, he's signing so much stuff. He's one of the biggest players in the NFL right now. I'm interested in what the chat has to say. I'm interested in what you have to say about that, Andy.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like it allows you to build a different kind of rainbow, right? And it's probably a lot more affordable than trying to build the one of one all the way into all the parallels. So I think it's cool to maybe have each different iteration of a player's autograph, kind of like the timeline of when he first started. He was writing J Chase with the number and all this. He was writing smiley faces on there, and now he ain't doing none of that. You just like you get a JC. Kind of go through each iteration. It kind of shows you how many things he started having to sign, and I guess that's also an indicator of how good he started becoming as well. I mean, the thing is, things with autographs, they can't be. I was going to say they can't be replicated in a sense. Like he could always go back to signing that way. It's not like a game worn jersey, but at the same time, it does capture a specific period in that player's life and the way they were signing autographs. And if they change it up, like if all of a sudden, T. Higgins came to an epiphany and he's like, you know what, I really got to start, making my name a little bit more legible in my autographs on these cards, and like started actually writing out a T and Higgins and whatever, or just something a little bit more than like 2 lines. Then I think those cards become more valuable, but it also makes the older ones nostalgic at the same time.
Yeah, and it's interesting. Like the Jamar Chase card that I'm chasing is way out of my price range. Is one that's not even signed at all. It's that zebra print field level. Man, that card. Man, it's my hierarchy on things in life. My wife, and then that card. It is that simple. I freaking love that design. But honestly, sometimes the card over my wife. Just saying. But it's that beautiful. It really is. But yeah, I mean, signatures change. My favorite signature that I have in my collection is a Justin Jefferson signature from when he was in college, and he signed it number 32. He wore number 32 is only his true freshman season. That is the most rare signature that he's going to have. So, I like that, because if you get an early autograph, it's different than their later autographs. But Andy, I will say signatures do change over time, and I think the newer athletes, quite a few of them, don't give the best sigs, right? The older you get, a little better signatures. But then you also have this card. Andy, explain this to our wonderful viewers.
And speaking of signatures, this was posted on BBC Sports Cards Twitter timeline today. Breaking news. The GOAT, Tom Brady, was drafted by the Montreal Expos in 1995. We'll have a card in this year's Bowman Draft baseball set. Here's an alleged leaked photo of the autograph card, and it features an inscription: if baseball doesn't work out, there's always football. Autograph signed by Tom Brady. I mean, this card literally is going to become, while not technically a football card, the most expensive football card, or maybe the most expensive card in the hobby, period. Tom Brady doesn't do a lot of autographs.
He does.
And just the fact that he signed this in allegedly in 1995 when he played baseball for the Expos. Are you kidding
me? So just for clarification, this card he signed in 95, or is this just another variation and he just signed it now?
That's a great question. We may have to bring this guy on to get more information. This was the only information I could find on this.
Yeah, and I normally stay away from BBC initialed anything. Now that gets NSFW'd quite a bit. But yeah, reach out to him. Go for it. But yeah, I would love this card. I just like interesting cards. I'm an inscription guy as well. But you are right. I mean, out of all the legendary football players, one thing that I love is the one football legend that I think promotes the hobby, but he gets no love for it. And obviously I think he's getting paid for it, is Barry Sanders. He gives out like Panini Prism cards quite a bit. Do you ever see this on Twitter? He'll give out so many like Panini Prism. Like he'll just sign like a current Prism card of his and just give it out.
He's the man. Well, I guess it kind of devalues auto, but it makes the card a lot more valuable. It's like I would like to have one, and I think going to one of those events, like I would expect to pay anywhere between $30 and $50 just to get that. So if I could get that in a card, I think that's when it becomes really important to get it PSA DNA authenticated. Even if you don't get the card graded, just to say, hey, this is authentic Barry Sanders autograph, and it's a nice aesthetic. Like if I could bring him whatever Prism short print insert, like if I could bring him a manga or a downtown or something really cool and have him sign it, I think that's awesome.
Barry is great with fans. My interaction with Barry Sanders, I was obliterated after LSU won the national championship, and he was very patient to take a photo with my dad and I. I'll never get over and high like that. But yeah, Barry has always been just top freaking class, and wish we had more of that. I see Michael Ham, the legend. When it comes to sports card knowledge, you always trust a guy holding a fish, right? There you go. Bowman was rumored to have Tom Brady in an upcoming set this year. It was signed in 2023. So I think that actually makes it better. A little sarcasm, a little humor here. I like that.
Yeah, and it looks to be, I'm sure it's rare because Tom Brady does not sign a lot of cards. So for him to add that additional inscription, that little message is actually really funny.
And I think it's because it's your guy, Michael Rubin. Brady and Rubin are boys, man. And obviously Brady is really in with Fanatics. So I want to ask you this, Andy. Did you see the all-white party this past weekend that Michael Rubin threw, where it was Tom Brady, Odell Beckham, Des Bryant, Joe Shiesty, Devontae Adams, and those are just the football guys. Freaking Kylian Mbappe was there, Andy. Do you know Kylian Mbappe?
Kylian Mbappe. Well, yeah, I've heard of him. I don't know any of his efficiency metrics or anything like that for soccer, but I know he's pretty good.
Man, next year we got to get to the party, man. Beyonce, Jay-Z, Robert Kraft. We got to get an invite, man. We do.
The question is, was this? I wonder if this was filmed for like a, reality TV
footage.
show.
The footage, my jaw dropped seeing how many legendary people that were at that party. Now, why is that relevant? Well, Michael Rubin is the guy now. I mean, he basically somewhat owns a good bit of the hobby now. He is in with the athletes unlike anybody else. And I haven't even talked about the NBA guys. I mean, he flew all the way to France to get Wemby an exclusive deal. I like it. I do. Now, I'll say this. Our guy Ziggy No is definitely one of the most objective and critical people in the hobby. I would love to hear his thoughts about Rubin in the hobby, but I think if athletes know Michael Rubin is the card guy now, I think you could get better signatures, more signatures, and I think that's good.
So Lee Aaron in the chat wants to know if you could go to that party or get your Chase Zebra. Carter, what would it be?
I'd go to the party. I'd absolutely go to the party because I used to do stand-up, and I don't miss it a whole lot, but I kind of do. And Kevin Hart was there, and K Hart, gotta love it. And listen to this, Andy, Usher performed. So Usher is that's our childhood. Now I don't know how much Usher you grew up listening to, but I loved him. I just did. And my dad got to see him in Vegas a few months ago. I'm definitely going to that freaking party over the Chase Zebra all day.
I'm still trying to master the Usher dance moves, man.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, we'll do it in Chicago, baby. We'll get it done.
The question is, was anybody slapped in the face? Did Will Smith show up and slap anybody in the face?
No, Will Smith. No. You know what's very interesting though is like the athletes that go to that. It's genius because once again, those athletes worship, Jay-Z, uh, Justin Bieber was there. But if you go, guess what? I would guess Michael Rubin would say, "Hey, if you're coming to the party, I need you to be a Fanatics guy," and that makes it a lot easier just to accumulate as many athletes as you possibly can. Once again, I'm not going through all the A-list NBA guys that were there, and it is interesting to see which athletes are with Fanatics and which ones aren't. I don't believe Mahomes is with them. I don't believe Lamar is with them, but all the young rookie quarterbacks that we talked about at the beginning of the episode, that they're Fanatics exclusive guys, and that doesn't include, Will Anderson, who's going to be a very good player. So yeah, it's wild what Rubin has accumulated, and he's a cool guy. Like it's not like he's just rich. It seems like they legitimately like being around this guy.
So, I mean, at this point, do we pretty much want Fanatics to take over the football card hobby as well? I mean, is this kind of what we're hoping for?
Once again, that gets into all this license stuff that once again, we have always said this about hobby exclusives, license exclusives, and all of that. Be very skeptical because a lot of this stuff is fluid because obviously Panini is still Panini and they still have this thing for the next year and a half or so. But obviously we know Topps is owned by Fanatics and it is different. Uh, I mean, we'll see. Obviously, one thing, and this is something that I've really enjoyed um, about Michael Rubin, is he has said in pretty much every interview that the one thing that drives him crazy is redemptions. And we saw, Andy, when we just brought it up just a minute ago, how angry the chat gets with redemptions. So I'm telling you, if Fanatics were to able to get rid of redemptions and just get everyone to sign, and you take redemptions just out of the hobby, I don't think you could just take it completely out. Man, I like Fanatics as a company. I just do. I know everyone doesn't agree with that. That's perfectly fine. But if he were to do that, man, that would get him so much goodwill.
Hmm.
And,
Yeah, I mean,
and one more, and
makes
one more
sense.
thing to what put Hector's comment up on the screen as well. Okay, so as you know, Andy, I'm a Tyrann Matthew collector. Okay, that's always just been my guy. Um, and look, he was that 2012, 2013. So you got Topps and you got Panini Prism. I have a lot of Panini Prism Matthew. I have a lot of Topps Chrome Matthew. When I tell you how much I miss Topps Chrome, I miss it a lot. I really do. And I can't wait to see it come back to football. If it does.
Yeah, I mean, I think they were I think they were kind of first to the game, or they were definitely before Panini, and they started producing a lot more parallels. But yet they've been around from the junk wax era and before that, so they've kind of been through that whole phase. They kind of learned a very important lesson about overprinting, and kind of understood how to print sets and without printing too much. And I do kind of like the way that baseball is done so much differently, in the sense that Topps is only allowed to print for a player once they're brought up from the farming system, right? Once they're actually
Okay.
signed by the major league team. So until then, you actually do have all the value in the Bowman first prospect cards. And that's different with the NFL hobby because, players with any draft capital, until you don't have to be proven good in the NFL at all. If you just have that draft capital, then you're going to be printed in all the pro sets with all those parallels and that big print run.
Let me ask you this. All right. Andy, my favorite thing over parallels, over numbered, over autos are game use patches. Those are just always been my absolute favorite thing. So I want to bring up, and I understand I talk about Hector a lot. Me and him just think a lot about the same things in the hobby. Dude, if Fanatics ups the game worn patch thing, bro, it's I just think game worn stuff is such a game changer, at least for me, Andy.
Hey, speaking of game worn, I mean, they're like those Moxies, the Moxie patches that come out of Donruss Elite. Last year they had some event worn stuff. I think that's the closest we get to game worn right now.
Right.
But if Fanatics could actually like bring true game worn with the actual event notated on the back and some type of certificate of authenticity with it, I mean, it's a game changer, man.
Ooh. So Ham says Fanatics does not own game worn anything. It's all from Fanatics store jerseys. I mean, I'll say I think they do have some like game worn stuff. I don't think they've put it in cards just yet, but I think more so as far as like the future is concerned, kind of what they did with the Major League Baseball this year. They had like these opening day patches, and once the game was over, they sewed the patches off, and they put it, or at least they're going to put it in cards. I don't keep up with baseball cards at all, but I think that's pretty cool. That would be a pretty sick, scarce one of one. And, the one card from a quarterback, Andy, who I just don't care for. I'm just not a fan of his. I like him, personally I do, but he's just not, in my Burrow, Breeze, McNair, Manning tier. Is that Josh Allen red stain E patch that was photo matched just in some random card. And they were able to see the red stain, him, hugging Tom Brady. Man, that card just gives me chills. Whoever has that card, that's a card I would desperately love to see at the National.
You know what's interesting, and this is what the hobby is kind of driven third-party vendors to doing, or third-party companies, kind of like see some custom cards, but these Jersey Fusion is actually a legitimate company that they actually take normal cards and they'll cut in a game use swatch on the back of the card, and they actually put it in their own little one touch here about how the material is from a jersey worn by the player depicted on the trading card. And this is Johnny Unitas. Like, man, how do you have a game worn jersey? I guess that's not necessarily game worn, but they're claiming it's player worn.
Yeah, I mean, all Unitas had to do is just put a jersey on, and yeah, I guess so. I've never really been a Jersey Fusion guy, but I do like the option. If people like it, go for it. Let's go to Hector. MLB debut patch greater than any logo man. I agree. I do. Yeah, that Jersey Fusion isn't bad. You got a little patch in there. Look at that.
It's pretty wild, right, man?
Got you a little color patch. I'm not the biggest fan of it, but to each your own. I could come around.
And this one's actually indicating that the jersey was worn by Jared Goff on December 15, 2019 by the player depicted on the front of the card. So
love some specificity.
Yeah, man. Super interesting. So it's almost like a slab that they put the card in with the patch. So it is. I know Jersey Fusion. They've been around for a few years. Guys like Mike Ham like the card. So look, they actually show the jersey on their website from when the jersey was worn with the certificate of authenticity. Then they basically cut that up in their lab and add it to sports cards.
Yeah, if it was a big game, or if I was at that game, that would be a pretty cool, souvenir. Like, once again, aesthetically, they're not my favorite, but it is very interesting. So there you go. We'll go quickly here. This has been a spicy live stream. I'm not able to see from where I am. We're over 50 viewers. Just keeps growing. I absolutely love it. Hobby tip of the week is just pretty straightforward for me. I've actually already shared it. The reprint stuff, people still get fooled by this. And that Brock Purdy thing, where in all caps in the title, the dude said reprint and still went for $160. That's just crazy to me. So that's a quick hobby tip of the week for me, Andy. For you,
Oh man, hobby tip: get those cards listed, guys. Get those cards listed. Go ahead and list them in a buy it now. I get a lot of questions from people always asking when I should list my cards, like when I should get them listed, and my response is to get them listed now in a buy it now, or at least have them set up in a draft if maybe you want to wait, and maybe you do feel that you're flexible enough and you're paying attention to the sport enough that you can see the breakout happening and then go on and publish your card at a price that you see what the current solds at that time are compared. Like if you don't want to risk listing it now and like not getting the peak amount of money that you could out of your card, you could save it as a draft and be ready to go for when that player does break out. Or I mean, I just like to kind of anticipate, like, right, Carter? I like to compare it to what the other guys are in the draft class. Like my Mac Jones, I'm trying to sell right now. I'm trying to sell them for where Justin Fields cards are at right now, a little bit under that. Like I'll accept offers, under that and take like 75-80%.
play of the week. For me, Andy, I go back. I kind of shared it a little bit earlier again. Traylon Burks. I even love it even more now. I'm seeing some autos go for $10 out the door, $15 out the door on eBay. That just makes a lot of sense to me. I loved his athletic profile coming out of Arkansas, and now he is the clear-cut number one guy. I think he's going to have some spike weeks, and he's fully focused in, ready to go. And he's very dedicated. I mean, I don't know if you saw the story, but he took like a private flight to make his first practice because there was flight delays. The guy's put in the work, and I expect a pretty big year from here. Let's go to Cody. So, Andy, I just got some good news right here. So, Cody B, our first super chat here. Cody is a huge supporter of my LSU channel. And we just by happen to both be big football card fans. And guess what, Andy? Cody's meeting up with us at the National, baby. Let's go, Cody.
Awesome, man.
Let's go.
Yeah, I know. That's awesome, man. I'm looking forward. Can't wait to meet Cody. I know there's a few other guys from the Patreon, from the Quest that are going as well. So I can't wait to meet all of you guys and kick it. It's going to be fun.
Let's go, Cody. My man had a big Kenny Pickett purchase recently. I can't wait to see if he still has it. Like a big Pickett. I love it. Let's go to Cody's comment. He wants to talk to some Anthony Richardson here at the end. Okay. This is where it's a little bit different because, like, for people that didn't watch any Arkansas and Traylon Burks, you're like, wait, why is Carter so high on him? Because the dude was him in freaking college. Anthony Richardson's like the opposite. A lot of people in the NFL just love him, adore him. They like the Shane Steichen fit. But in college, Andy, he was all over the place. Accuracy, all of it. Now, you would see some elite things, including his 80-yard touchdown run versus my dear beloved LSU Tigers. But and they went 6-7 last year, and he threw a lot of uncatchable throws. So yeah, it was a lot of ugly last year for AR.
So he wasn't nearly as good of a passer as Jalen Hurts was in college.
No, Jalen was very good, and you also got to keep this in mind. All right, this is how I feel about quarterbacks. To add in to this entire conversation. So, Andy, do you know what the Elite 11 is? Are you familiar with the Elite 11 at all? Mm-hmm. Okay, so every year there's these regional camps for like the top high school quarterbacks, and it ends with an Elite 11 camp in California, right? So Panini is like Elite 11's one of their biggest sponsors. So and I wanted to include that because Panini gets to know quite a few of these quarterbacks very early on in the process. I think that's going to be very interesting moving forward. And they sponsor a lot of these high school kind of events. But, Jalen Hurts, what made him so interesting is that he played a lot of football. So, he was involved with the Elite 11 in high school. And then when he got to Alabama, he essentially was a 3.5 year starter, or more 2.5 to 3-ish year starter. Anthony Richardson has only started one full season. And it is hard to get good at quarterback, Andy, if you don't get game reps. So for me, that's going to be so big for Anthony moving forward. I just have a tough time with only one full year of starts seeing him be good this first season. But from a fantasy perspective, I love him.
I just think that it's going to be a lot of rushing. So I think he's going to establish himself first and foremost around a rushing attack. And it'll probably be like a lot of like short passes with a very seldom like deep play design where he drops back, maybe a play action, and like lets one rip, down the sideline maybe. They got Isaiah McKenzie now, or we like Ashton Doolin, Alec Pierce, Michael Pittman. They got some good players there. But I just like the coaching because he knows how to build. But it does make it understanding that it does kind of paint a much more difficult path for Anthony Richardson to take the kind of leap that Jalen Hurts has taken with all that experience that Jalen Hurts has. Plus, his dad's a coach too, right?
Yeah.
And he's like had this whole system. He's been in this whole system, and Jalen Hurts clearly has those intangibles like Joe Burrow about leading the offense, and understanding what the defense is giving them and all that kind of stuff. So
I meant to put this in the private chat, Andy, but it's in the public chat as well. I want you to put this card up on the screen from Jalen Hurts. I'm glad you brought this up because this is the absolute sickest immaculate patch I've ever seen, but it's not from like any certain game or whatever. So I know I posted it in the chat, but we'll post it on the screen so you don't have to look at this patch. Look at that eye right there.
Definitely not cutting this one open to see if that's actually from his jersey.
Look at this card, bro.
Now, man, it's so rare. I don't really think the grade matters a whole lot with it being a BGS 8.5 auto 10, but I'm still tempted to crack this thing out.
Look at this, bro. I love Jalen's signature too. It's very clean. Ending tonight. It could be yours. So whoever is selling this, Jaku, I actually follow him on Instagram. Whoever's selling this card, Jaku, if it goes up, or if a QuestCast viewer actually buys this card tonight, Joku owes me a burrow. Look at that, man.
Yeah, that's really nice, and it's actually a pretty reasonable price with the quality of patch, the on-card auto, great brand, immaculate, 04 to 25. I mean, the Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert base rookie ticket autos, even in raw condition, it's still a $2,500 card. You're still looking at a $2,500 card. Joe Burrow's probably even gone up since the last time I kind of checked in on that. No, I checked in, I think it was last week. But so right now, I'm not sure how much higher this one's going to go. But, man, Eye of the Eagle, that's sick.
Look at there's this one, too, that Jalen's got a bunch of sick patches. And that's a good thing, when it's event worn, you could put the sickest patches in there. Just make them wear as many jerseys as you can. But yeah, That is so nasty, bro. God.
Very nice, very nice. Yeah, I love targeting the Eagles' offense. I mean, Jalen for stuff like this, obviously 7,100s out of my budget level. I would love to dip into my 401k and my savings account to get this one at 2,500 or less, because I do feel like that does have some serious potential, especially if you believe Jalen Hurts is an MVP contender this year, which I do. I believe he's a prime MVP candidate out of the NFC. Like, we could very well be looking at that. I actually, like, right now, my play of the week, Carter,
Let's do it.
is Kenneth Gainwell. I don't
Oh,
know. I think that there's a decent chance that Rashad Penny, it's the top offensive line in the league. Kenneth Gainwell was actually drafted by the Eagles in 2021. They may only have fifth round draft capital, but the guy was really good at Memphis. 6.3 yards per carry. He had a really high target share, almost 14%. So he's got a good receiving profile as well. He's never really got a ton of opportunity, but still put up 4 touchdowns last year, 6 touchdowns in 2021. And when you look at them, Rashad Penny's on a $300K salary. Like, he's literally free. He's already reportedly hurt. There's potentially starts the season on IR. I think there's even potential he gets cut from the team once we get to training camp because he can't pass a physical and he's not healthy. I think there's a good chance he gets cut from the team. The one thing that would hurt Kenneth Gainwell is they bring in a veteran, one of these guys like, Kareem Hunt, Dalvin Cook, Fournette, Zeke. All those guys are still out there. Obviously, Philly, they got Penny for free. I think he's going to be cut. DeAndre Swift, he's never been healthy a full season, and he also is basically free. They traded a 4th-round pick for this guy, and if he doesn't pan out, then they get their 4th-round pick back. It's a compensatory pick. So he's totally free as well. So the only guy they trust, and if you remember back to training camp last year, all the hype was on Kenneth Gainwell because he came in early for camp. He stayed late. He's like the hardest working guy on the team. Nick Sirianni was wearing the Gainwell shirt at the pressers and stuff. And I think, you look at his potential. I think he's got pretty good potential to way exceed his current expectations. And like I sniped an immaculate out of 25 Kenneth Gainwell on eBay the other day, autograph like this card, but it was raw. No, the patch wasn't as nice, but the patch was pretty cool. Wait till you see it. I'll show you in a mail day for $20, dude. $20. Like, there is just a ton of upside in this kid's cards right now. And I think that, it could be coming down to him and Boston Scott, which I know Boston Scott's always good for a few touchdowns, but Kenneth Gainwell can put up a lot of production on a playoff Super Bowl contending team. And this point next year, his ADP could be a guy that jumps, 100 picks, now going around like the 8th to 10th round instead of just totally free.
You ever been to Memphis?
No, I heard they got good barbecue though. I got some Memphis barbecue in the fridge.
What, you do?
Yeah, Memphis barbecue sauce. I actually had some on a sandwich this afternoon.
There you go, man.
A couple pieces of bread, some Memphis barbecue sauce, and some grilled chicken. Bam.
Kenny Gainwell, baby. Love it. Memphis, great city. I think Beal's a little overrated though. But not the basketball player, the street. But Frank DeWong says patches, it's all about the aesthetics. If it's a sick patch, it's a sick patch. Player worn, game worn, vertical, horizontal or not. You like it, you buy it because it looks good. Yeah, but man, if you get that magical mix, game worn patch with low numbered, and you get the auto, that's what I'm looking for, baby. I don't care if the auto's not the absolute cleanest auto. That's what I'm looking for. The Holy Triumvirate. That's why I have my John Elway Peyton Manning patch stored up right now, but still. Kent gets the last question after Cody in a super chat. Really appreciate it. Deshaun Watson, I think the Browns are going to be really good next year. I just think their roster is just so freaking loaded. And it makes me worried about my Bengals, which is kind of weird to say. But any of your thoughts on D. Watson going into next year?
I think he has got nowhere to go but up. I actually I talked about him on a solo podcast that I did Monday, live stream I did Monday, because his ADP has gone up 100 picks from last year to this year. Now that we all know he's going to be the starter, and he's had an entire offseason to plan and prepare and actually practice with his team. And they have the number 2 ranked offensive line according to PFF. Their schedule is about mid-ranked. It's a very tough division in the AFC North, as you know, with your Bengals and your Ravens and the Steelers and stuff. So there's always like that consideration. But I like him to make potentially an early season push overall. This could be a playoff team as well. And like I said, his ADP has climbed up 100 points, but his rookie card values, Carter, have not changed at all. From this point last year till now, they're actually the same, if not a little bit lower, because the news at this point last year was right when he was getting signed by the Browns, and there wasn't actual suspension news yet. So there was a lot more like relevancy and hype going on for him. And now it's like there's a lot of people who just automatically assume that he's washed, even though he's, for a quarterback, he is far, far from it. I kind of look at it as just like he's needed this time to get not only his mind, but his body right for his sport, kind of like what Tiger Woods went through after he went through that whole scandal. So this guy is not even 28 years old yet, Carter. And I think that the Browns' offense as a whole is undervalued right now, and they're set up to absolutely smash compared to the current expectations.
That division is just, that's one of the most talented divisions I've ever seen in terms of just not only just really good football players, but like former 5-star recruits, guys coming from big schools, guys that had ridiculous college careers. I mean, you got Heisman's, Bolitnikovs, you got it all. And a Hall of Fame coach with the team that doesn't have, the great quarterback. It's absolutely crazy. So next Tuesday, we'll be back on our regular schedule on Tuesday next week. Once again, Underdog Fantasy, promo code Quest, promo code Carter. Either one get you a good bonus. And draft, baby. Go on and get your draft. Who have you been taking a lot of lately, Andy?
That's actually a really good question. So one guy that I always find myself like, there's a cutoff at running back at Kenneth Walker and J.K. Dobbins. Yeah. I love both of those guys. Those guys always seem to fall to me. I love both of their outlooks this year. And so I have been prioritizing wide receivers in the first 2 rounds. And then I've been getting a lot of like, it just depends on, what happens, like the format. I was doing quite a few of those Chihuahuas that were all super flex. But let me I'll show you my exposure real quick.
Yeah, go on ahead. I'll give you somebody that I'm still drafting at cost, and I was racking up on him before cost, before his Ryzen ADP after the Dalvin Cook thing. I'm still a buyer of Alexander Madison of where he is right now. And I kind of feel like I should do it with the football cards as well. I just think with Minnesota's offense, I think their offense is still going to be good this next year. So yeah, let's see what you got here. You got some Monty, okay?
56% David Montgomery, $87 in entry fees on David Montgomery, but I'm okay with that. There's too big of a disparity between Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. When you look at how high Jahmyr Gibbs goes he goes in like the 3rd, 4th round. I would say 4th round at the latest. And then David Montgomery going at pick 81. And this is standard like Best Ball Mania format, like standard single quarterback format. So I think there's too big of a disparity there. I don't think he's going to put up the 18 Jamal Williams touchdowns, whatever he had last year. I think it was 18. But I do think that he's going to put up double-digit touchdowns, and he's going to put up over 1,000 rushing yards, probably have some receiving yards in there as well. I think this offense, I think you can tell as a whole, this offense is going to be really, really good this year. So, like, I have no problem hitting the button on Amon-Ra St. Brown at the end of the first round over Garrett Wilson, over Devontae Adams. Like, I'm hitting a button on Amon-Ra St. Brown because he's an easy, like, 200 target guy. Like, he could potentially set records in the amount of targets that he gets. It's going to be like Cooper Cup level targets for Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, I mean, it's plant my flag. Got to plant my flag on some of these guys. And there's too big of a disparity. So when David Montgomery goes like 3 rounds later than Jahmyr Gibbs, which I have been taking a lot more Jahmyr Gibbs lately. But,
okay. The Sun God.
Yeah. Those are some players that I've been smashing a lot. Quarterback?
Right,
you want to see quarterback, Carter?
Let's see QB. Let's see what you got.
Geno Smith, baby, 18%. Jared Goff. Sam Howell. I've actually been hedging this a lot more lately. Like, my early season take about Sam Howell has shifted a bit to being more iffy on whether or not Jacoby Brissett's actually going to start the season because of Ron Rivera being on the hot seat and being absolutely desperate to win games. So if Sam Howell cannot throw the ball accurately, they're going to put Jacoby Brissett in. I think Sam Howell's on a tight leash with Ron Rivera. Even if the front office loves him, I think Ron Rivera is desperate to win. He's so competitive that he will put in Jacoby Brissett in a heartbeat.
All right, guys. We'll see you next week, baby. Peace.
Peace out, y'all.